Hi, I'm Dr. Matt.
Hey guys, I'm Dr. Wendy.
Hey guys, it's me, Dr. Dave.
And I'm Dr. Karri. And thank you for joining us today. We are going to have a question and answer session to answer a lot of your questions that you had. I posted a couple places for input, and there was a lot of the same questions that kind of popped up over and over again, but there were some really neat ones. So we kind of divided them up, or some we're going to all be answering the same one, you know, when it's a question that pertains to everybody. And let's just jump right in. I've got my little computer here. I think we're gonna go ahead and let's start with Dr. Dave. And I sent him a microphone, and I think it had a light with it and a stand. So we'll see how he does with tech. He doesn't really like change a whole lot, but let's go to Dr. Dave now.
All right, guys. Karri bought me some technological stuff, but I'm not sure how to use it. Tripod mount adapter. Microphone. My camera doesn't have a place to plug this in, so I can't do it. What do I need light for? There's plenty of light in here. Karri, what's going on here? What the heck? I can't do this. This is crazy. I'm not going to use any of this. Everything's fine. I don't need to use any of that stuff. Susanna says, how long has everyone been a practicing vet? So Matt, Wendy, and me, and Judd, Karri's husband, all graduated the same year from A&M, 2012. Karri, I think, she'll tell you obviously more accurately than me. I think she graduated like 3 or 4 years before us.
So I graduated in 2012, so next year will be 10 years.
Dr. Dave and Dr. Wendy all graduated in 2012. Holy cow, that's 9 years. We've almost been practicing a decade.
12 years for me. Graduated in 2008. So a little more experience in these young bucks, you know what I mean? All right, Thrice asks, I'd like to hear about everyone's first pet/animal who had a big impact on your life and career choice. That's a good question. I had a lot of pets growing up, and not a whole lot, but like always a dog and sometimes a cat. I always wanted more. But I was really, really close to them because I was an only child at my mom's house, who I primarily lived with. And pets were my bros. They were my friends. They were my confidants. They listened to my problems. So all of them really had a big impact on me. As far as career, I had a ferret when I was, let's say 12 or 13, and she died really suddenly, and I was devastated. And now, you know, practicing and knowing what I know and doing exotic medicine, I realized that she probably had an insulinoma. But at the time, that really drove me because I felt like the vet really didn't know what was wrong. There wasn't a lot understood about ferrets and everything back then, I guess, as pets. And so that really inspired me to kind of learn more.
The first cat I ever had, it was the first pet I ever had, was named All Ball, like Coco the gorilla's cat. I think that's what he was named after. That was the first cat I remember as a kid. But All Ball didn't like me, and he wasn't really my cat. He was like my dad's cat. The first animal that was like my pet was a cat named Nimbus. She was gray, and we named her Nimbus because it's like a gray cloud, like cumulonimbus. She was like my first cat, my first pet, and she loved me and I loved her, and it was the first animal I had to take care of, clean her litter box, feed her, that kind of stuff. And I loved Nimbus. She would like, when I would get home from college, she like missed me. And so yeah, Nimbus. R.I.P. Nimbus. She was a great kitty. She's not here anymore, but I miss her still.
Growing up, I always had cats. My favorite cat was a like half Himalayan, half Siamese or Persian. I don't know, some sort of, really just a mutt of a cat. But he was kind of embarrassing, but like my best friend as a child. And so he had a big impact. I think my rabbit. And then I always loved horses, and I had a pony named Peanut. So they were probably my biggest impacts?
When I was young, my parents got me a golden retriever, got me and my siblings a golden retriever, and I was the oldest kid. So my dad said, hey Matt, you can name him. The little golden retriever puppy, super cute. He said I can name him. He's like, what do you want to name him? This is the most, really like the most cliche thing for the Demolition Ranch guy to say. But my dad asked 7-year-old Matt, what do you want to name this puppy? And I wanted to name him Rifle Gun. Yeah, not even just like rifle. I wanted to name him Rifle Gun. And my dad was like, we're gonna name him Ralph.
So Sarah is asking for everybody, what was the strangest thing you found in the stomach of an animal? My cat has Pica. I think that's how you say it, don't judge me. So I have to be very careful not to leave things around for him to eat. I've been very lucky, no surgeries have been needed to get some things out, but I know it does happen. We've pulled out, earbuds, we've pulled out bottle caps. I mean, I had one dog, I think we pulled out almost like 100 beer bottle caps that this dog has just been eating out of the trash. A bunch of hair ties. I think we had a cat that we pulled out like 20 hair ties.
I actually have a really good one. So I had this little dog. She was probably 15 pounds, full grown, 15-pound little dog. And the owner said she had been losing weight and having some vomiting. And they said she used to weigh 18 pounds and now she had lost like 4 pounds or something. So she had lost a lot for that small dog. She did come in and she looked very scrawny and yucky. So I feel her belly and I can feel something in her belly. So I take an x-ray and you can see it. There's some big ball in her belly. But I'm like, I don't know how she would have swallowed that ball. Like it's bigger than could have fit down her throat. So I was like, I told the people, I was like, I have no idea what's in there, but we need to go cut her open and figure it out. We'll cut her stomach open, pull it out, and I was like, what is this? It's this huge rock hard ball, and it's 4 times bigger than what could have fit down her esophagus. Like there's no way. And I'm like, what is this thing? And so I cut it open and it's hair. It's a hairball that's solid. And it smelled, it was the worst smell ever. It had obviously been in her stomach forever. And so I call the owner, I sew up the dog, everything. Dog is awake and now fine after surgery. And I call the owner, I'm like, I got it, it's out. It was just a giant ball of compacted hair. Like it's like the size of a lemon, but hard, like a rock. And they're like, oh, she loves licking the hair up off the bathroom floor. And I was like, are you serious? So the lady would brush her hair and the dog just like, and licks up the hair, and it was going in the stomach, and over a couple years, just winding up and made this huge ball of hair and was gonna kill that dog. We took it out, dog's fine. I was like, hey, keep your dog out of the bathroom.
So it wasn't that strange. It was just a lot. So I had this cat, I guess also had Pica, like your cat. He loved ponytail holders, like elastic ponytail holders. He like ate them for years, and they were always like, we have to buy these all the time. Where are they going? And then like a few years later, after there were like so many built up in his stomach that he couldn't like hold any food down, they brought him in, and we took an x-ray, and I was like, what the heck? We did surgery, and it was like 30 or 40 of these things. And it was like a time capsule of ponytail holders. It was like the freshest ones, obviously. Like they're like, oh yeah, I just bought that 3 days ago. And then like all the way down at the bottom was like moldy, nasty, half rotted ponytail holders from like 6 years ago. So it wasn't that weird of stuff to eat. I think a lot of cats are attracted to those for whatever reason, but that amount was kind of weird. I've never done that since. That's a good question, Sarah.
Charisse Wasson said, for all doctors, if money was not a factor, what would you buy for yourself and or where in the world would you like to go? I would definitely, this is serious, I'm not just saying this, I would definitely probably open a giant shelter and homeless like pet facility, and with lots of vets and a huge center with horses and everything. As far as where I would go, I'd probably still live here because there's a huge need here, but I would travel a lot and have little houses here and there. I might, buy a fancy car or something, like a old muscle car.
I would love to kind of just travel all over. Thailand's always been a big one. I think like the elephant sanctuaries, you've got to obviously find real ones, but actually visiting like a, real sanctuary, that would probably be my first trip. And then I think like Greece or Italy, Tuscany, just never been on that side of the world. So for me, that would be my first choices. What is the thing you hope will change in the years to come for rescue animals? I mean, obviously, I hope there's less of them. I hope that maybe one day it becomes where we don't have the issues where spaying and neutering is happening. These animals aren't being abandoned, aren't being abused. Put me on a job, I wouldn't mind, if we could, wake up and have that happen.
That for me is like, it's easy. I've always had the answer to that. I would buy a huge ranch in Texas, and so that's what I would buy. And where would I go? I would just stay on that ranch. That's all I've ever wanted. That's all I want still. A big ranch in Texas.
Not sure exactly what you mean by that question, but it reminds me, we went to Dominican Republic and there was a group down there that had pooled their money together and bought this mobile spay-neuter bus. I mean, they just bought a bus and they turned it into a mobile surgery suite with like 3 or 4 tables in there. And that's what just come down, and we did it a few times. We came down to Dominican Republic and just spent all day spaying and neutering cats and dogs that were just roaming the streets of the Dominican so that they wouldn't go on to make way more overpopulated dogs and cats. That was pretty neat. And so like, if money was not a factor and you could just have those things everywhere and make it really easy for vets to go travel these places and have a little mobile surgery suite, it would be pretty sweet.
What has been your wildest case so far? Y'all get to compete for who is top dog. No pun intended, good pun, Mona. They all kind of run together. It's been almost 10 years, but one of the ones I really remember is one time I had to deliver kids, like baby goats, and the mom couldn't have the babies, and so I had to do a C-section, and she had 5 babies, which is a whole lot. That's crazy. I don't know anyone who's ever seen more than 5 babies. I don't know anyone who's seen that many, actually. So I think that's pretty crazy.
Oh, I love competition. So there was this pregnant dog and she was due any day, right? And then she starts going into labor, but she's not having any puppy. We call it dystocia. And the owners called and said, we need to get her up there. So they bring in this pregnant dog and I like palpate and I can tell there's a baby stuck in the birth canal, right? And I'm trying to work it out. It's not coming out. I'm like, we gotta go to surgery. So I take the dog, cut her open, pull out the uterus, cut the uterus open, and I pull out the puppy that was stuck. And it's 2 puppies, conjoined twins, and they have a head on each side, and each has their own set of 2 legs. And so it's got 4 legs and 2 heads. And I'm like, this thing can't be real. And it gets up and it walks around and it barks from both ends. It was insane. I just made that up because I wanted to beat Dr. Dave on whatever he tells y'all.
Probably I treated a Coatimundi at my previous vet clinic, and if you don't know what those are, they're kind of like South American raccoons almost. And this guy was, he was attacking his tail actually. He would pull it over his head and he would kind of wave in front of him, and he would just like go ballistic and attack it and bite it. And so he was basically just tearing up his tail. So I mean, probably due to captivity, but at that point, you can't release these guys. So we did have to amputate the tail so he would quit destroying it. But after that, he did great, and obviously no more tail to attack. So that's probably my wildest case, I would say.
Nib Nerd says, what is the most difficult thing about being a veterinarian? I think this is the same for most vets. It is definitely not the medical part. It's not the animal part. It is, for me, it is for sure kind of the people who, 2% of the people I see who kind of lash out at us or blame us or yell at us or, threaten to badmouth us all over our town or write a bad review. I really have a hard time not dwelling on that bad 2% and not appreciating the awesome 98% that I see of people. I'm working on it every day, but it's really hard for me not to just totally dwell on that 2%. So That's a good question.
Probably trying to juggle people's finances with emotions, with medical treatment. You know, if we spend money on the diagnostics, do we have enough to treat the pet? And then trying to read all the different personalities. A lot of it really isn't even the animal side, it's more the people side, because every animal that comes in is attached to a human. And so that would be my answer for that one.
I would say there's two. One is they don't tell you what hurts. They don't tell you what's wrong with him. So like if a dog is limping, he can't be like, this just happened, or oh, it's because I jumped really hard and it snapped or something. That'd be nice to know. If they're losing weight, they can't tell you, well, it's because my stomach really hurts. Like you have to figure it out as a vet, and that's difficult. The other thing that's probably the most hard is that you have to euthanize animals often. Like as a vet, you have to. It's not fun. That's one of the worst things. You get to save a lot of animals, but then you also have to euthanize them. And the way I got through that, the way I made that okay in my mind is, I'm not euthanizing them to be mean. I'm euthanizing them to be nice. Like I am helping that animal still. You help them until the end, and when it's the end, you help them. Like you're making their pain go away. I only euthanize them if they need to be euthanized. If they're suffering, if they're old, if they're dying of cancer, and it's time, you help them.
Gracie said, I want to hear what brought each person to become a veterinarian and eventually a day in the life of each doctor. For me, it wasn't one experience. It was just, I just knew forever and ever and ever. I rescued everything, tried to fix everything. Thinking back as being a really tiny kid and the things that I would rescue, I feel kind of sorry for some little broken creatures, but for sure, it wasn't any one thing that made me do that or inspired me to. It was just kind of like a life choice that I knew there was nothing else. And then she said, eventually a day in the life of each doctor. That would be cool. So that's something we'll definitely look at in the future. And I would love that. I want to see what everyone else is doing. I want to see what Dr. Dave is doing, Dr. Wendy, Matt. I would love that too.
My dad was actually a veterinarian. And so I got to kind of grow up in a vet hospital watching him do surgeries from when I was this big. I was sitting there at the surgery table, on a stool, like looking into dogs' abdomens and chests while he fixed them. And so I've seen that forever, and I thought it was a really cool job, and I thought I could do that. So, and he kind of was there to kind of show me the way. Be like, yeah, you need to do this. You need to take these classes. You need to focus on this kind of stuff. And so I had a good teacher to kind of show me the way to being a veterinarian. I'd go to restaurants with my dad, and somebody walk up, and they'd be like, "Hey, Dr. Lee," and then they look at me, and they'd be like, "He saved our dog Missy last year," and I was like, that was my dad. My dad saved Missy last year. And then I actually thought I might want to be a human doctor. And so I went and worked in a human emergency room for a summer while I was in college, because I thought, I think I might want to be a human doctor. I'll go do this. It was the worst. I was like, nope, not for me. I don't want to do this. And so I decided I'm going to go back and be a vet. So that's what I tracked.
My family ranches, and being a rancher, a lot of it is being a vet as well. Delivering babies, giving them vaccines, fixing hoof problems, stuff like that. Like that's what I love about being a vet, is kind of working on stuff like that. So that was also a big inspiration to me. It was like a way to keep doing that for my job. And yeah, it's like kind of a way to be a cowboy and still make some money, not be a broke cowboy. So that was a big part of it as well. And a day in the life of each doctor, this was another big draw that I saw with my aunt and uncles, is each day is totally different. You could be working on a cow that's delivering a baby the first thing in the morning, and then you got to go do spays and neuters on dogs and cats for 3 hours, and then you see a new puppy and you got to tell them like what food to feed it, and then you got to do a C-section on a cat or something like that. Like it's any minute is different. It changes all the time. Every day is totally different, and I really like that. You definitely don't get bored. There's no predicting what's going to happen any day.
I love this question. Tanny M must be in the vet industry. She said, show and tell your coolest veterinary gadget equipment. For me, I love my dental machine because I love dentals. I love extractions and dental makeovers for really bad mouths because it totally changes animals' lives. So I love my dental machine because it's amazing. And the drill, it just cuts like butter. That's my favorite.
Right now, my favorite thing is our tono pin. And so it measures pressures of the eye, and it's actually they use it in humans too. I had my eyes recently done, so no more glasses for me, but they actually use the same thing, and it basically checks your pressures. It just feels like a flutter against your eye, so no more like puffs of air, and no more trying to like poke the eyeball over and over to try to get pressure.
I don't have a whole lot of gadgets. I'm not a big gadget kind of guy, as you may be able to tell from my technological difficulties. I have a really good giant hydraulic squeeze chute for working on cattle. It's pretty cool. It's super loud. It can handle animals all the way from little bitty calves, which we work on all the time, all the way up to rodeo bulls, which we work on sometimes. I've had buffalo in it, like American buffalo, American bison. I think I got some cows coming tomorrow. I'll show you all that. All right, here's my squeeze chute. We got some bulls coming in. See some bull butts there. Get on, Bubba. There we go. We got him trapped. He's safe. We're safe. These aren't particularly big bulls, but we can handle a lot bigger than this. That's my squeeze chute. Gray says to all doctors, what made you decide that you wanted to be a veterinarian? Did you have an early life experience that pointed you to that direction? For me, it definitely wasn't just one experience. I have 3 other vets in my family, 2 uncles and an aunt. And I grew up hearing them talk about cases and talk about school and going to their clinics or the hospitals that they work at. And I just like really thought that was cool. I always thought it was cool from as far as I can remember. I do kind of specifically remember when I was like, for sure I want to be a vet. I was 7 years old. I was at one of my uncle's vet clinics. He's a mixed animal vet as well. And I don't know why this had such an impression on me, but he has a surgery room where they work on horses, and he let me look in it. It's like this big padded room with like mats so that the horses don't like hurt themselves if they stand up too fast and hit a wall. And I just like, I don't know why, I just thought that was super cool. I remember that. It was really more like a lifetime of my aunts and uncles kind of brainwashing me, maybe. Not really. I just wanted to be a part of their club. They were the coolest people I knew, and so I just like wanted to be a vet like them.
Growing up as a child, I always loved animals, you know, that's always the answer you get. But I think growing up with animals, I always wanted to know when they got sick, you know, how to help, what to do. And I think my first memory was probably, I guess I had a rabbit that had ear mites, and she scratched the ear really bad, and so we had to take her in. But you know, I wanted to help and fix her. And then I had a cat that someone had shot in the eye with a BB, and you know, it's kind of like, what do you do? And so I always loved the animals, but I always wanted to know how to fix them when there was a problem.
Okay, there were a lot of questions like this. Do I need to get my cat on medications? My dog is itchy, what do I do? Just questions like that. And that's just a good point for me to bring up really quick. You probably noticed that we don't ever answer those. And legally, because we can't. So we cannot give out veterinary advice to animals that we've never seen before. And that's mainly to protect the animals, to protect you guys, because we really don't know what's going on. I mean, if I give you advice about your cat that's attacking your other cat, I didn't do an exam. What if I missed that your cat that's crabby has a bladder infection, or I palpate her belly and feel that she has a stone, which is making her crabby? So anyways, you get the point that we just cannot give out any medical advice without being your doctor, hands-on, face-to-face.
All right, Jonah says, what types of procedures are your favorites? And if you had the opportunity to specialize, what would you specialize in? Orthopedics, ophthalmology, etc. Thanks, I love the videos and get inspiration from all of you. Thanks, Jonah. That's awesome to hear. I love inspiring people, especially young people who want to be vets. So procedures, that's my favorite. That's easy. I love to deliver babies, any kind of baby, even, you know, C-section, live birth, whatever. So kittens, puppies, kid goats, lambs, calves, foals, whatever. It's my favorite thing to do. It's exciting. It's really satisfying. I like where I am. I sometimes will deliver babies and then I'll see those babies for their whole life. Or like I've delivered calves that have gone on to win, you know, best in show at like stock shows and stuff. Or like I'll deliver some babies from those babies, you know, 2 or 3 years down the road. That's really fun. If I were gonna specialize, this is unrelated to obstetrics, I would be a pathologist. One of my uncles is a pathologist, one of the vets I was talking about. And I just think pathology is cool. It's a lot of times it's not quite as urgent as what I do. Like, this dog got hit by a car, you gotta work on it right now. Or, oh, this cow's having a baby, we gotta do it right now. Or, you know, surgery's on the table, go for it. Like pathology, you get to kind of do a little bit of more kind of dissection kind of stuff and look at stuff under the microscope and think about it. And it's kind of helps you discover the mysteries of sickness and death in animals. And so then it helps you like fix other animals. Yeah, it's cool. It's a little bit more, for me, it's more like exploring instead of just like, all right, you got to fix this, figure the problem out and fix it. So pathologist, that's what I'd be.
I am really passionate about dentistry. I like extracting teeth. I like reading dental x-rays. I think the other passion I would have, I guess 2 others would be skin. So living in Texas, we're like an allergy dust bowl. And so skin is just a constant thing that we see. So I really like being able to see these dogs and like know I can help them. And then the other thing would be behavior. I haven't really dived too much into it, but I just see a lot of dogs that you know could benefit from help. And so that is also something that I'm passionate about, especially being in the rescue world and that kind of thing. You see so many dogs come through the system because of behavior issues. So that is something on my long list of to-dos, is to try to get more involved with behavior management training, things like that.
All right, Brandy, love that name, Brandy. Says, what is your least favorite part about being a vet? If you could no longer be a vet, what would your next career choice be, aside from YouTube? So we kind of answered that first part before, but if I could no longer be a vet, I would be a cowboy, a rancher. That's all I would really want to do.
Brandy Evans. Who sounds familiar? I think I know Brandy Evans, or I know a Brandy Evans. What is your least favorite part of being a vet? I kind of answered that already, which is talking about money with clients or having to charge. If you could no longer be a vet, what would your next career choice be aside from YouTube? I think we can all agree that I'm not a naturally born YouTuber. This is not my calling and I'm not super smooth at it. So now it's not even in the running. But I don't know. I mean, it would obviously probably involve animals even if I wasn't a vet. But if I had to exclude anything with animals, I would say something with plants and like homesteading. I love plants. I kind of get crazy about them and treat them a little bit like my pets. Talk to them, love them, nurture them. So probably something with plants and gardening. Maybe even landscape design, that would be super fun.
My next career choice, oh gosh, I don't know, probably training of some sort as far as animals, like a dog trainer or horse trainer, you know, something along those lines. I do like that side, but it would, you know, still something with animals.
I'd be a rapper. I'm no good at rapping, terrible actually, but I would love to be a rapper. Or a UFC fighter, also bad at that. But if I could pick, it would be one of those two.
I'm sure, absolutely. They just can't tell us like, oh, when you get close to me, it makes me sneeze, or your perfume makes me itch, or whatever. So we just say, oh, he's probably allergic to the pollen in the air, even though it's probably you. Yeah. Hopefully your animals are not allergic to you, Miss Frisbee. Another cow with Carlos. That's my sister's heifer. Man, you guys are just getting a little window into my life here.
From Bella Wachatella, oh, I like that name. In what case would you do surgery for heartworm treatment instead of IM, which means intramuscular injections? So you probably saw in Raya's case where she got the injections in her back 30 days apart, which is the way we do that just as standard protocol. The times what she's talking about is sometimes if an animal is basically in a critical state where there is such a huge worm load of heartworms that they are blocking the pulmonary artery. So they are blocking blood from flowing out to the lungs and circulating through the body. So we call that cable syndrome. That is the time when we would choose for that animal to go to surgery. Usually that's done like at bigger facilities, and a cardiologist will basically open the jugular vein, go down, they go to the heart, like wrap around, put this little basket thing, and then kind of twist it around. I imagine it doesn't look like the fork, but I imagine it like if you had your pasta that you were wrapping around your fork, because that's kind of what heartworms look like, a little skinnier. So you're just kind of wrapping them around, and then you're just pulling this clot of worms down and around through, and then up through the jugular. That is, oh my dog's such a derp. That is such a risky procedure. But I have seen dogs when I was in vet school that have had positive outcomes with that. But anyway, to answer your question, it's when they are in cable syndrome or experiencing cable syndrome and are about to die.
How easy was it for you to find a job as vets? I am considering becoming a vet, but no one in my family had any relation with this field before. So I can say same, you know, I'm the first veterinarian, you know, to come out of my family. And the veterinary community is pretty small, and so I think if you reach out to the community, we're pretty much accepting of people wanting to get experience and wanting to get into this. So I think as far as finding that shouldn't be difficult, and then finding a job. I graduated in 2012, and so at that time felt like jobs were a little bit more hard to come by. But I can say right now, I mean, I know almost every clinic around is looking for veterinarians, and so there's definitely a need. And I think there's always, you know, there's so many fields, so many assets, so many different avenues that you can take that I think there's always plenty of jobs in this industry.
Do you have any advice for someone like me, or could you share how the project started and how it grew to be what it is today? Thank you very much for all you do. Hi, the project grew because we were all really excited about it. Like anything in life, if you're passionate about something, you can make it work. And I wasn't sure how we were gonna make it work in the beginning, but I was just really excited about it, and I wanted to do it. I wanted to do more than what I was doing as a vet, and so that's where Vet Ranch came from. And so if you are passionate about your project, whatever you're starting, whether it's veterinary related or anything in life, you can do it. You gotta work hard, and you gotta be excited about it.
Aang said, have you ever encountered FIP through rescue? Yes, and it's terrible. FIP is feline infectious peritonitis, and it is a coronavirus, I know, right, that mutates to become a set of symptoms or a disease known as FIP, feline infectious peritonitis. It sucks because there is not a good test for it, and it's pretty deadly. And I have. However, there is some super exciting research right now going on that looks to have a cure for FIP. So stay tuned for that, because it could definitely change that disease for us. I hope so. It is
You know, I actually don't see a whole lot of FIP. I have seen it. Super sad because it usually affects little kittens. But I don't know why. I don't see it a lot in my little town. Probably 1 or 2 a year, and you know, if that. So we're lucky. The cats are lucky. We're all lucky that's not prevalent where I live.
What is it like to go to vet school? I'm considering becoming a vet. I want to know what it's like. How do I get in? How difficult is it? What kind of stuff do you do? Favorite part? How often do you actually deal with animals versus just classroom classes, etc.? Josh, you're pumped. I'm pumped that you're pumped. It is hard to go to vet school. but it's great because once you're there, even though it's difficult, you feel like, okay, I'm finally in the home stretch. I'm at the exact place that I want to be, and finally, once I graduate from here, I'm going to be a DVM. That's what it's like. You get a group of friends that has a sense of camaraderie that you cannot even imagine because you went through probably one of the most traumatic and difficult experiences ever. But it's really great because you're finally past like hating OChem and sweating it out because you know it's a prerequisite. What kind of stuff we do? We do book learning, we do lab learning. When you get further along, you do live surgeries, you do mock surgeries, you do a lot of mock client-patient interactions. You don't deal with animals a whole lot until probably the end. I would say like 3rd or 4th year, then you really get to start dealing with animals and hands-on stuff. There's a little bit, but really a lot more towards the end. Good luck, Josh. Hope you do it.
Vet school, getting in was very hard, I thought. I had to study really hard in undergrad. Some people don't, but I did. Once I got in, because I was used to studying all the time anyway, I didn't think it was like that different. I studied all the time for 4 years in undergrad, and then I just studied all the time, actually probably less overall, especially once you get into your upper class years in vet school. So I was just like, yeah, just keep studying all the time. It is like 20 plus hours of class every day, especially for the first 2 years, which is like all day. For those that don't know, it's like being in class all day, like 8 to 5. So be prepared to just like take notes all day and then go home at night and study. That's what I would do every day. How to get in, it's changed a lot since I did. It was almost 15 years ago that I applied and got in, so I don't necessarily know anymore. I know it's pretty, the standard stuff is have good grades, have good extracurriculars, and you have to have good recommendations. And I think it's very helpful. You have to have volunteer hours at a vet clinic. In my experience, it seems like people who have jobs, like work at a vet clinic, that seems to help a lot, like better than volunteering. You know, I've had a few younger people come through that, you know, have worked for me and gotten in. I'm proud to say I helped them get into vet school. So I think them working for me helped a lot. Favorite part was my friends. Karri wasn't in school with us, but she's married to my best friend, one of my best friends. Me, Judd, Matt, and another guy who I don't think y'all have ever met named Brian. We were like best buds, and they're still my best buds. So that's definitely my favorite part. That's easy.
So smiley gecko. It's a really cute picture. But for everyone, do you ever get really attached to cases and animals to the point where it hurts to let them go? I think there are always some animals that stick with you more, but I've never really struggled with letting them go as far as to their new homes, new families. You know, that's just the bonus of this work, is that the more you kind of move on to different people and families, the more you get to help with the new ones. And so I don't think it hurts. You know, it's just really nice to get to see these families enjoy these animals, you know, because of what we do. So I wouldn't say it doesn't hurt to let them go. And some of them, you're kind of like, okay, yay, like it was so fun to play with you and make you better, but let's send you on your way to your new family.
Alexiana Larson said, how can I get an internship with you guys? I'd love to meet you all in person and help out while I learn more about the veterinary medicine. So we would love that. I think eventually we probably need to get more standardized, bigger, and more concentrated effort, which is my goal someday. But if you go to vet school and you have a 4th year opportunity to do an externship, gosh, we would love that for sure.
John says, which case are you the most proud of since starting the channel? For sure, I mean, like I've had way more challenging cases than the one that I'm going to tell you about, and I'm proud of those as well. Like cases where I didn't think and no one thought the animal was gonna make it. But I'm most proud of the very first one on the channel, which was a black lab named Janie. Janie was hit by a car, And as far as we know, had no owner. As far as we knew, had no owner because she didn't have a collar on. She looked super dead, but she wasn't. She was barely alive. I actually put her in the back of my truck to go take her to the clinic to put her to sleep because the cop was there and he's like, you want me to shoot her? And I was like, no, I'll go put her to sleep. And what I'm proud of is this was not an animal I was expecting to ever get paid for because she didn't have an owner as far as we knew, and I was just gonna go put her to sleep. And it was after hours. It was dark outside. Like I got a call from one of my clients who found her on the road. It was like, hey, will you come put this dog to sleep so the cop doesn't have to shoot her. So I went, loaded her up, took her, and then I was like, man, I'm gonna try to save her. And I tried to save her, and we saved her, and then her owners found out I had her, and they called me, and they're like, you have our dog. And they turned out to be one of my clients that I already knew. And anyway, we saved Janie. She was super beat up. She made a full recovery, and Janie actually just had a birthday. That video was uploaded 7.5 years ago. That's crazy. I didn't even realize we've been doing veterinary stuff. That video was uploaded 7.5 years ago at the start of 2014. That is insane. And the owner actually, let's see, this is like 4 days ago, texted me a little video, which I'll show you guys, of Janie. She just turned 16 years old. She's a Labrador. Labs don't usually live to 16 years old. And she was almost dead on the side of the highway, and I was about to euthanize her. And then I just saw a little sparkle of hope in her eye. She looked at me, she locked eyes on me, and I was like, I can do this. And Janie is 16 years old. Happy birthday, Janie.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Janie. Happy birthday to you. Woohoo!
All right, I've actually seen this question a fair amount. Baron von Korf, awesome name. Dr. Dave, did you end up adopting Stanky Leg? Well, Baron, I guess we'll see. Just look. Sits on our front counter and sleeps. Pick the pet her all day long. Then she goes to our barn. She lays in our barn a lot, even though it's like 100 degrees outside. She loves it out there. If we ever have a sheep or a goat come in, she's like all over them. She loves sheep and goats. I don't know why. Maybe because she's so fluffy. Maybe she thinks she's a sheep. I don't know. She's a princess, though. She's our princess. Yeah, I kept her. I'm glad I kept her. We love Stanky so much that she's even made it onto our Christmas card. There she is. Robin's still here too, but he keeps to himself. Not 1 year, but 2 years. That's how big of a presence she is at this hospital. 2 years on the Christmas card list, on the Christmas card. I don't even think I've been on the Christmas card 2 years in a row.
David Shaw asked, how many animals do you guys receive every day, week, month? Also, I love the videos. Thank you, David. It totally depends. I mean, sometimes we get animals like you saw from the shelter when the shelter is full. Sometimes we end up getting a litter of puppies in. Sometimes we get hit by cars in. It is so random. Another factor I have to think about is because I own the practice and we are a fully functioning veterinary practice, it depends on how much room I have. I can't take up the whole clinic in rescues, although I've gotten close and I can still try, but that has a factor too. I mean, I think you'll probably get a better idea of that as you watch more Vet Ranch Roundup. Shameless plug.
Are there any medicine shortages? We in India don't have medicines imported for animals. So there are some, I guess the big one right now is actually there's a shortage on euthanasia solution. I don't really know what happened or why, what's going on, but that's a pretty big one in the US right now. So so far it hasn't affected us, but at some point we may have to kind of change up our protocols and how we do that. There's also a drug called Vetmedin, which is kind of off and on of being hard to get. But I think for the most part, we're usually pretty lucky on, being able to get products or at least substitute products and things like that. So.
Victoria with a J. I don't know if that's Russian or not. I think it might be Russian. Dr. Dave, why do your patients always turn out to be pirates? Look, I don't know. I think it's because I'm like a sucker for that little kitten who had a terrible eye infection that never got fixed. And some owners like, I can't do the surgery, or I don't want this cat. It's like, I can do this surgery in like 15 minutes. This cat will look awesome. People love one-eyed cats. It'd be easy to adopt. It'll help him. He'll feel so much better. And it's like, I don't know, there's something about him. I love to help him. I don't know, Victoria. You're gonna get tired of it. You're already tired of it maybe, but I'm never gonna stop. I love one-eyed kittens. Sorry.
Whatever happened to Pretzel, the kitty with 2 legs? I would love to see her again. Pretzel, for those who don't know, was a little kitten that came in, I'm trying to remember which leg it was. One of her front legs was like paralyzed, so she had one normal front leg. The other leg, like she had up here, and she could kind of like roll around, but she didn't use it to walk. And then in the back, she had one normal leg on the other side, and then one leg that was like rotten. And so I amputated a back leg. I decided to leave this leg even though she didn't use it to walk, but she used it to like roll over. She would like push off on her shoulder. But she ran around on 2 legs, a front left and a back right, I think is what it was. So we kept her as a clinic cat actually. And so we had her in a couple other videos, but then as she got bigger, she did not like the dogs that came into the clinic and everything. So she wasn't doing good. She was stressing out. And so we adopted her out. So she went to a good home. I haven't seen her in a long time, but I assume she's still doing well because she was doing so good when she was with us.
How do you decide that a particular surgery is above your pay grade? And in other words, how do you know when you need to call in a specialist, and how frequently does that happen? That is an excellent question, and I'm so glad you asked that, because sometimes I think you guys watch the show, we don't always introduce the surgeon that's come in for special cases. Because sometimes they don't really want to be featured in videos or anything. We do one of 2 things. Either we see it and treat it, or we send it away somewhere to a specialist. And usually that's like a special surgery, like a heart surgery, an orthopedic surgery. Or we, and I believe the other practices do too, Dr. Dave, Wendy, and Matt's practice also has a surgeon. We will call in a surgeon. Ours is Dr. Reed. She is awesome. She wears the coolest shoes ever. And we call and consult with her, and she usually can do lots of surgeries that we can't. So usually the surgeries for our practice that we call in are orthopedic. There's probably things that we could attempt, but why? When we have amazing board certified surgeons, board certified cardiologists, which we have one of those 2 that comes to the clinic, and there's just no reason to do that.
Fish Reef 20G says, do you need a job while in vet school to make money, or do you need to have a husband or wife to make money while you're in vet school? That's a really good question. So most people don't. You're taking a lot of hours in school. There's not a lot of time to work. Some people are able to work. I tried, but I couldn't. I just couldn't balance how much I had to study and having a job. My wife was also in professional school at the exact same time, so we just went into debt. Student debt seems like a generational tradition at this point, and we went into a lot of debt. And probably I could have gone into less debt, and that would have been better. But I didn't really know anything about money then, so we've got our debt paid off now. You'll be happy to know. But that's what most people do. If there's anybody out there who wants to go to vet school, my advice would be make a budget before you take accept any student loans, and figure out how much you actually need, and then take only what loans you have to. I was just like, yeah, great, give me the money, not really quite understanding it. So I think that's a really good question. Hopefully that helps y'all.
How are you guys coping with the increased workload from the pandemic? You guys doing all right? ? It's definitely interesting and crazy. Like, it runs through my mind a lot. Like, is there just a surge of pets? What happened? I think part of the curbside stuff kind of limited, what we could see capacity-wise at times. And then also sometimes I think it's easier to kind of turn someone away if they're on the phone versus, you know, standing in front of you like, help. And I think since every clinic now is kind of having to do that, it's creating like this trickle effect. So coping, we're just trying to do day by day. I mean, honestly, I know for me, my technicians and my reception staff, like, they bust it day in and day out. And honestly, like, they're the heroes behind the scenes that don't really get the credit that they should. And because of them, like, we're able to see what we do see. And I mean, yeah, it is a struggle, but we're definitely doing all right. You know, just you do your best, you show up, do what you can, and just know that you've helped in some way. We're hanging in there for sure.
Lori Mitchell says, Matt, what is the one thing no one told you about being a vet? One thing that I did not expect, I don't know if I should say this, but I'm just gonna say it. I didn't realize being a vet involved me having to put my finger in so many dogs' booties. Yeah, that's a thing, and I'm not even trying to be funny, that's for real. You have to do that a lot as a veterinarian, like a lot. I went to school for 8 years to stick my finger in a dog's booty every day. Yeah, big mistake.
Spotted Otter says, for everyone, what's the most satisfying case you've worked on? Any animals that you really thought wouldn't make it and they pulled through, multi-animal rescues from bad places, etc. Or are there any procedures that make you squeamish still? I know I have to not look at the screen when you guys get animals with rotting teeth and gums. Okay, so I would not say it's easy to say what is my most satisfying case. I have a few that stand out. Mostly because he's sitting right here. I'm going to mention my doggy Gus. Alright, every day when I get home, I get a vet ranch greeting from my guy, Gus. Gus broke his leg, and I fixed it. Hey, Gussie. Hey. Good boy. Good boy. Hey, sit down. Gussie. Hey, sit down. Stay. Show him. Shake. Shake. Good job. Good job. That's a good dog right there. Look. Look at that leg. Look at that femur. His was the first broken bone femur that I pinned, which now I do all the time, but his was the first one. My old boss and mentor helped me do it. He was on Vet Ranch. That was a really satisfying case. Maybe not my most satisfying case, but you know, he's here, right here. And then as for being squeamish, absolutely nothing. I don't think you could gross me out anymore. Like, I'm a dad, nothing there. It's like being a vet my stomach's rock hard. I can't be shaken. I can't be shaken. Nothing grosses me out anymore. I dare you to try and gross me out. You can't do it.
This is from, anyone, are there any contagious diseases that you have to protect yourselves from? In the latest Vet Ranch video, I noticed that no gloves were worn during a sample of puppy's blood, and I'm curious. Really good question. Contagious skin stuff is gonna be like ringworm and which is a fungal infection. We can definitely get some staph infections, some bacterial infections, especially MRSA, so we have to be careful with that. As far as bloodborne diseases, not really. But there's definitely, we could get parasites from dogs, like intestinal worms and protozoa. So tapeworms we'd have to eat, a flea, which would be weird, and I want to know how that worked out. But for the most part, it's fecal oral transmission. So I'm gonna leave that right there.
Gold Daddy says, Dr. Dave, when you first started doing videos, it looked like you were way out of your comfort zone. I hope I don't offend you or anything by pointing that out because I think you're my favorite doctor. Thank you, Gold Daddy. Maybe that's my actual daddy. Maybe that's my dad. Maybe that's why he's being so nice. Because of how far you've come since your first video. In the latest videos, you have come a long way and you seem to be super comfortable with the camera. What was your journey like saying yes to being a part of Vet Ranch? And what has your journey been like from the beginning to now? That was really simple. It's not exciting or really all that interesting. Matt was like, hey, Karri and I are doing this. It's going pretty well. We get to save these animals. There's lots of donations coming in. Do you want to do it? He came down and we had barbecue and talked about it. I was like, okay. So that was easy. Has your journey been like from the beginning to now? I assume you mean for vet ranch. So I definitely was like pretty nervous, a little weirded out doing my job on camera. I was still a little bit like, this YouTube thing, I don't know. I don't think it's gonna last. And so that was maybe some of the stuff that you see early on is like a little reticence to just like open myself up to thousands of people like watching me do surgery or whatever, you know, judging my receding hairline or how I'm talking or how I'm holding an animal, which I've noticed is done in the comments. I'm a lot more comfortable. I don't read the comments as much anymore. That helps a lot. And I just enjoy it. It's a cool opportunity. There's lots of times where we can't fix animals because whatever, you know, the owner doesn't have the money or doesn't want to take the time or whatever. And so those can kind of wear you down. And so it's awesome to be able to, like say someone brings in a stray dog, or, you know, we have a really awesome animal control officer here in the town I live in. And she calls me and says, hey, you know, this dog got hit by a car. No one's claiming it. Can I see if you can fix it? It's like, yeah, yes, you can. So it's nice to be able to say yes to stuff like that. Or like, you know, some little kitten, like, which, you know, in rural communities, kittens are not like valued animals necessarily. And so we see lots of those, and it's cool, it's fun, it's very satisfying to be able to just be like, yes, I will fix this kitten and I will find it a home. And it's really nice to not have to answer to anybody with these animals. It's like I can just do the best medicine possible. I don't have to worry about cost. It's like I can just fix it. That's really rare, honestly. We don't get to do that a lot. So I'm in it. I'm in it. You know, even if no one ever watches any of my videos again, I'm gonna keep doing it. You know, Abandoned Pet Project is awesome. You guys are awesome for keeping the donations coming in. It's like, whether you see it on YouTube or not, I'm there, I'm doing it. So, good question, Gold Daddy. Maybe that is my dad. That might be my dad, I don't know.
Susie says, so Dr. Matt isn't associated with you guys anymore? I am still associated. The other vets on this channel, Dr. Wendy and Dr. Karri and Dr. Dave, are all my friends. They were in my vet school class. Dr. Karri actually wasn't in my vet school class, but she's married to a guy who was in my vet school class, so we were all super tight. They're all Texas veterinarians as well. We all went to the same vet school, obviously, and so that's why I asked them to come join the channel. They're awesome. So I am still associated. I'm just gonna let Dr. Karri take over for a little while. Sam Evans says, does Dr. Matt still work as a vet? Do I still have a veterinary license? Yes. Am I still a veterinarian? Yes. Do I still own a veterinary hospital? I do. I actually still own a veterinary hospital, and I don't work as a vet, I wouldn't say anymore. Will I someday work as a vet again? I think I will. Okay, you guys, okay, yeah. Y'all wanna know if I'm a vet? I get it, okay. Yeah, totally a vet. Can Dr. Matt make guest appearances? Monthly? We miss him. I miss you too. I love you. Thank you for saying that. Monthly? Probably not. But I do wanna come back and make guest appearances. Yes, we can do that. Why does Dr. Matt not make videos anymore? He was great. You're great. Thank you. That's so nice of you. There's a bunch of reasons why I stopped making the Vet Ranch videos. For one, I don't know if you know, but I have a lot of stuff going on. And that's my own fault for sure. Like, I like piling tons of stuff on. It just got too much to try to do everything. And Vet Ranch was the thing that was taking up the most time, for sure. I mean, you've seen some of the videos where it's like, you can tell I have this dog for 2 months. I'm working on this dog and creating this video about this dog. And I saw that dog almost every day, probably actually every single day, especially the ones that had like big surgeries or wounds. Like, I have to look at them every day at the bare minimum, and most likely I have to work on them every day. And so the Vet Ranch videos were what was taking up most of my time. And so that was the thing that fell off, and I decided to make my life better, I need to slow down on the Vet Ranch stuff for a while and take a break.
Who wants to deliver tartar sauce to Michigan? Totally me. She needs a home. The thing is that her sister, Calamari, who looks a lot like her too, doesn't have a home either. So the deal that I'll make with you is I will get her to you if you also adopt Calamari. Cody King, such a good question to address. For anyone With COVID, did you find that more people were taking care of their pets and more were looking to adopt, or just the opposite since lack of job availability? Thank you. I found that we did have a lot of adoptions during COVID. We really did. People were definitely adopting. I think vet clinics across the country, talking to other vets, were slammed. Everybody was super busy. It was crazy, especially because we were having staff out, vets out, I was out, but we were crazier than ever. That being said, a huge concern that we talked about in the rescue community kind of was the concern that everybody got these pets during COVID when they were able to work from home and be at home a lot, and then they're gonna go back to work. And I'm really worried that we are gonna see a little surge of animals that are surrendered to rescues because of behavior problems, separation anxiety and stuff like that. So when we were adopting out during that time and people would tell me, it's great, I'm home all the time, I would especially talk to them about behavior stuff and making sure that they build up the confidence of that animal, especially dogs and puppies, so that when they do go back to work, it's not going to be traumatic for that animal because it's going to completely change their routine. So I hope I don't see that. But yeah, lots of adoptions, lots of animals.
What's the happiest turnaround story you've had? Probably Pretzel. That was a pretty good one. A little kitten that just came in like a mess, and we as a vet, you have to euthanize animals. That's part of being a vet. You can't be a vet if you don't euthanize animals. And so when you see an animal suffering, like a tiny kitten that's broken and only has 2 good legs and is just a mess, that you go man, should we just euthanize this kitten? But that one we decided we're gonna try. We thought we could make her better, and we did, and she was great. And so those are always cool when you have a case that you think there's no hope for it, but you see a little bit and you're like, let's just try, and it turns out good.
Have you guys ever had to deal with depression due to the difficulty of your job? We're getting deep here. So no, not in a sense of, for me, not having to be medicated or, mainly it's just making sure you can have your support system. And I have I have a wonderful husband, I have wonderful support staff, I got a beautiful daughter, so I've got my outside life, and just making sure to find that balance and just know as much as we want to help everyone and save everything, it's just not doable. So I think being realistic with the job duties and expectations and things like that. This profession calls obviously a certain type of person, and so that empathetic, compassion side, dealing day in and day out, I do think gets worn down. But for me, I'm just kind of tried to shut it off when I get home and find that balance. So
Clive, which that's a great first name. I don't know any Clives. Good job on your name, Clive. You just don't meet a lot of Clives in this day and age. Hey vets, how do you guys deal with burnout and compassion fatigue? Judging by his profile pic, Clive's in the vet med world. He's either a vet or a assistant or technician. He's got scrubs on and stuff, so it's hard. I think you will, in this job, you will burn out and you will have compassion fatigue. It's inevitable. I think it's more a matter of recognizing it and kind of pulling yourself up out of it. When I feel myself kind of dragging and I can tell I'm just less invested in what's in any case, and kind of listening to other people's problems, which is the biggest part of our job, is just listening. I have to kind of fall back on strategies and techniques, and it's hard. you have to really kind of be aware, self-aware, what's going on in your own brain, and then muster the energy and kind of remember what you've done in the past or what your strategies are. I exercise every day. That helps a lot. I like to have a good book to read at night, a good novel. I read every night. That helps just to kind of switch your brain off. There's a really cool podcast. It's called The Happiness Lab. I love it. It's got a lot of really good tips that I fall back on. I listen to the podcast over and over and over again. Check it out if you're looking for some tips on how to kind of reset yourself, get happy, recenter yourself. But yeah, it's a constant thing. It's not you don't just flip the switch and you're done. It's all the time. So really good question, Clive. Shoot, if you have any tips, send them my way. I'm always looking for ways to help myself and help other vets. I feel like so much of what we do is just like, here's my video. I'm talking to like nameless faces. It's cool to have a little bit of kind interaction coming this way. Nice questions and appreciative people. So thanks for that. That was fun. I was gonna just sign off, but you gotta see this like beautiful Texas ranch scene that's going on behind me. So there's Rose, my sister's red heifer. There's Carlos, and way off there, he's eating over there in the shade. That's my horse, Chili. Normally I have more cows than this, but we had a bad drought and it's just now gotten green again. Right now I just have Carlos and Rose, the red heifer.
Krista Nicole says, do you ever experience compassion fatigue and how do you work through it? That is such a good question because anybody in the vet industry, especially shelter medicine, animal controls, will experience compassion fatigue because you just get so overwhelmed sometimes. You get so, not hardened, but it's just overwhelming to just constantly see kittens this time of year dying from preventable disease that vaccines can easily prevent, or you know, things like that. So the answer is absolutely, compassion fatigue is real, and I take a break. I take a long break and slow down and remember what's important in life, and then recharge and get back at it. So that's for me.
What animal situation makes you the most uncomfortable? Big trauma wounds, parasites, eye, tooth problems, etc. None of that stuff makes me uncomfortable. I can have the bloodiest, like blood squirting everywhere, blood squirting on me. Of course, every vet, every surgeon's had that where like you cut something and it just goes and hits you in the face. That does not bother me. I don't get grossed out by that at all. Eyes and teeth, I've cut out eyes and teeth a lot, doesn't bother me. Eyes maybe bother me a little bit, but not bad. The thing that bothers me the most is pus. So my throat's getting like my saliva's getting dry just thinking about it. When I cut open a big abscess and the pus comes out, and pus really doesn't have like a bad smell or anything. It's not like I mean, sometimes it does, but it's not really that bad. Like poop smells way worse, of course, and you have to deal with that as a vet, but like, man, when pus comes, like when you cut open an abscess and it's just like, and just like running down, that's the only thing in veterinary medicine that really makes me go, oh, I need to look away for a sec. And I'll be like doing surgery and I'll like swallow and be like, okay, I'm good. That's the only thing that gets me.
Ta Linri says, any common things that you come across that pet owners don't ever seem to know? Love you all, and I'm so glad you're revitalizing the channel. Me too, Ta. I think that people underestimate the importance of preventative care, like hands down. Maybe it's because of where we are, we're a little bit rural, but prevention is the best medicine. Vaccinate, take care of your pet's teeth, keep their weight in check. Keep them on heartworm prevention. Those few things will help your pet live a long, glorious, healthy life. Spay and neuter, basic things. Also, xylitol and chewing gum is very toxic.
Do any of the vets work in a single vet practice? Or if not, do they prefer working in a multi-vet practice? 2 heads better than 1, or does 2 opinions cause more conflict? I work in a multi-doctor practice. There are, we have 3 full-time vets and 2 part-time vets, and then a couple relief doctors. And I came from a clinic before that was a single doctor practice, and I made the 2nd doctor. So I've never worked by myself, I guess except on days in my previous practice where, he was off or something like that. And I definitely enjoy the multi-doctor practice. Always, more input, more ideas. It's nice to have someone to like, hey, what do you think on this? Or am I crazy? Am I missing something? Or like, we have a doctor that's really good with cats, and so I'm like, all right, give me your cat lowdown on, blah, 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 and it's great. So definitely prefer working with groups. And then also, that burden is shared as far as like, I'm sick today, I can't come in. There's other people that can pull the weight and things like that. So
I'm an aspiring veterinarian from the Bahamas. I'm interested in being a board certified surgeon. Can you guys tell me how difficult it is to match into a surgery residency, and are the board exams really that difficult? How do you balance work and personal life as veterinarians? So we actually, I can't, and I assume the other doctors can't really speak to that either, because none of us did that. None of us matched into surgery residencies. So when you go to vet school, they train you to be a general veterinarian, and then you can kind of specialize after that. So you can go into residencies, internships, and all that kind of stuff. You can be a board certified soft tissue surgeon, you can be a board certified cardiologist, you can be a board certified neurosurgeon, you can do all that kind of stuff. We didn't do that. We all are just regular practicing veterinarians who see all the general stuff. You do the vaccinations, you see the dogs that eat golf balls, and you do the surgery to fix them. So I actually don't know. I don't think it's like super difficult, but it's also not super easy. I knew a couple people who did it, and like they all got matched into the ones they wanted, but I'm sure some people don't.
What maladies do pets get in your location in Texas? Where we live, the main threat is ticks, and puppies are prone to parvo. So Central Texas, definitely prone. You know, we see a lot of parvo. We see a ton of allergy stuff, a lot of allergies. We do see quite a bit of heartworms. Probably the big ones, I guess, too local to us, lepto. Since we've got the wildlife and the rivers and the water sources.
Alaric says, why does my cat wake me up at 4 a.m.? I don't know. Why does my cat wake me up at 4 a.m.? I don't know. It's like, I think it's because cats want attention on their terms, and they know that you're asleep, and they're like, you know what? Now's the time to like assert my dominance. Maybe that's it. Maybe they're bored. I don't know. But maybe you could. I don't know. My cat does it too. It's weird.
For anyone, all of you, which case affected you the most? From True Blue 533. And have you ever considered adopting one of your vet ranch patients? Senior patients affect me so much. Or like the big chunky cats I have right now living in my office that were at the shelter for 3 months or something. Squeaky and Kiki. Those affect me so much. Like medically, there's not nothing. I'm from Texas. There's not anything really medically wrong with them. Seniors are having their normal, senior issues. But those affect me so much because those animals were true to somebody and they were loyal to somebody their whole life. And then when they got old and maybe they became incontinent, they started having trouble. They started having cognitive dysfunction, just age issues. They were tossed away because they were too much work or because they were peeing on the floor because they were incontinent. I mean, those just, ooh, they hurt my heart. 1, half full. Bottle baby, couldn't part with them. 3, Greta. She's my baby. Bottle baby, same litter as Tad. Could not let my baby go. Special baby. 4, Pippet. You probably didn't see, but I rescued his mom from the Greenville shelter. Didn't know she was super pregnant. She was pregnant, had a bunch of puppies. Pippet stayed forever. 5, Hey, baby Hey. We fostered his mom, Moana. She was surrendered to the shelter super pregnant, and she had puppies at her house and he never left. And 6, Gumbo. If you haven't met him yet, you will. My vet ranch roundup. Just kidding, JK. I haven't adopted him, but don't get me started. I want to. Look at him. He licks my nose. He's the best. You hear him purring? Yeah, you can hear him. Love him.
Oh, Carrie McCreary sent this comment in. Interesting, Dr. Carrie. Dr. Matt, since you are busy with your other channels, have you considered letting Dr. Carrie take over the main Vet Ranch channel and combine it with Vet Ranch to take over the world, ... I mean, so she can increase awareness and save even more lives? No, that's a dumb idea. No reason to do that. Next question. I'm just kidding. Yeah, so Carrie was the obvious choice for taking over this channel because Carrie has the most videos besides me on this channel. She actually may be getting close to passing me. She has a lot of videos on this channel. This is what Carrie lives and breathes for, is helping animals and saving animals who don't have a person to pay for them. Carrie is now that person who will take an animal who doesn't have a person and she will fix that animal. She's the bomb and she's gonna do really good things on this channel. And so, Dr. Carrie, thank you for taking over Vet Ranch, carrying that torch. Here you go, and I'm really excited to see what you do with it.